Oh, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Justin Moore, founder of Creator Wizard, where I teach you how to find and negotiate your dream sponsorships. Guys, we're doing a new live stream time. Let me know if you're tuning in, where are you tuning in from, because this is the first time that I am going live on a Tuesday. So let me know, and I have my speakers on, of course, so got to tune that down. What's going on, guys? Excited to talk about the wrong way to educate brands about influencer marketing. So let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. We're gonna maybe have a new crew here today because I don't normally live stream on Tuesdays, but as you know, I mentioned last week that I'm no longer going to be live streaming on Fridays for the foreseeable future because I have a writing block every morning now, and that interferes with the old live stream time. So we got Delilah tuning in on YouTube. Good to see you here tuning in from Fort Worth, Texas. We've got Raven Alexis tuning in on TikTok. Donnie and Lisa tuning in on TikTok. We've got Kesman Lowrider, Top Gun BG LLC, D Crescenzo Sagese. Good to see you here. Culver City by way of Delaware. I used to live in Culver City. Can you believe it? I used to live in LA for many years, and Culver City is where I used to live right after I graduated college. So good to see you here as well, Kesman. We've got Gary from Edinburgh, Scotland tuning in, saying, nice hair, Justin. Thank you. I did get a haircut, so I appreciate you noticing. We've got Tonight Sam Jewelry, first time tuning in from Arizona. Good to see you here tonight, Sam Jewelry. We've got Jenny Lou tuning in from New York. We got Sarah Dawn tuning in from Toronto, who's saying it's actually a better time for me to catch you, so it works out quite nicely. Love to hear it. We've got John Willis tuning in for a Tuesday evening all the way from the UK. Good to see you here, John. Well, good to see some old and new faces tuning in for our new live streaming time. This is going to be the time moving forward. And so if this is your first time here, welcome. Thrilled to have you part of the Creator Wizard family. What we do on these live streams each week is I answer your questions about brand deals, negotiations, sponsorships, anything to do with collaborating with brands. And so we're going to be digging into that in a bit. But first, we're going to be talking about the topic of hand, which is the wrong way to educate brands about influencer marketing. So if you've ever tried to educate a brand who maybe doesn't really get it, drop it in the chat. I want to learn a little bit more about your experiences with that, but I have a few things I want to talk about. You know, I think I've mentioned this before in past content and videos and things like that. My wife and I have done over 550 sponsorships personally, and I've done thousands of sponsorships through the influencer marketing agency that I ran for 7 years. And so I have a lot of experience, like you know, like talking with brands, educating them about the value of influencer marketing. You know, it's quite a bit of a different thing when it's you individually as a creator trying to, you know, tell a brand like, hey, it's actually valuable, you know, what I can do for you, versus when I was coming in as an agency and trying to sell a much larger campaign. It's like kind of a different thing. And so, you know, you can imagine, like, if you're trying to convince the brand to like spend $5K with you or $1,000 with you, or 10, 20, 50K, whatever. Like it's a different conversation than saying a brand, hey, spend $500,000 with my agency. And these are the conversations that we were having. And so it's like, you know, much more involved. It's very comprehensive. It's the platform strategy. And so this is the perspective that I bring, and like what the things that we would do to get these very large deals over the finish line and get these deals signed. I think that you can use a lot of these same principles individually as a creator. And so the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to educating brands is you should not assume that all brands have influencer marketing to figure out. You know, because every brand has a different reason that they want to do it, not to mention the scale of their organization. So yeah, you know, you look at some of the very, very large advertisers of the world, the conglomerates, the Nikes, the Walmarts, the multinational corporations. They have either, you know, usually dedicated teams to do partnership marketing, influencer marketing, but more likely they have hired outside expertise, whether it's they've, you know, tapped their media agency with, hey, go out there and find the expert on influencer marketing that, you know, some other agency to do this for us. There's these kind of purpose-built influencer agencies that handle a lot of these types of activations. Maybe it's their PR agency. And so, you know, that's what happens at the larger advertisers. But, you know, for smaller companies, they don't have that those level of, resources. They don't have a lot of the same budgets to throw around. And so, assuming that they understand the value of collaborating with someone like you is just a very different conversation. For example, let's say that you're trying to, pitch your local, chain of, I don't know, insert restaurants, or local chain of car dealerships, or local chain of whatever, professional services, consulting, type computer, repair shops or whatever, right? It doesn't matter what industry it is. They're likely goal for a business like that is prominent within a local community, let's say, their primary goal is probably foot traffic, right? Like more people coming into their brick and mortar locations if they don't have much of an online presence. And so you coming to them and pitching them, hey, let me talk about you on my social media. Even if you do have, let's say, a geo-targeted niche or presence on your community, maybe not going to move the needle for them, given that, they really haven't dabbled much with that. Think about what money they're spending on their own marketing strategy. You know what they're probably spending 95% of their marketing dollars on? Probably Google and Meta ads, pay-per-click ads and Meta ads, geo-targeted at a 25-mile radius or 15-mile radius around their locations in that local community. That's what they're spending all their marketing dollars on. And so, you know what a smarter pitch would be when you're educating about them? You come into them and say, look, you know what I can do now that I kind of understand where your focus is as a smaller organization? I can help you make more compelling ads. That's what I'm going to do for you. And so now you're speaking their language because they're currently invested. They have to outlay capital, marketing dollars to get assets to run. Probably don't have someone to do that internally. Maybe it's just the founder. Maybe there is one person on the marketing team. And maybe they have hired an agency to help, a videographer or a photographer to like create assets that they could use to run ads with. No, you come in and say, I will do that for you. And I will help you make more efficient ads. And so they understand that that's something that you have to pay for. So I like starting here because, again, yes, the scale of the organization changes, but what you actually pitch to them, how you actually educate them about the value of what you can bring to the table is going to change as well. So let me know if this is like striking any ideas in anyone's mind. We've got Real Chris Ryan tuning in. We've got You Love Dovey, Blended Beauty, I Am Golden Art. We've got Eileen Milan tuning in on TikTok, Lola tuning in. We got Bianca tuning in on the chat, Canadian Businesswoman Podcast. Good to see you here. Angry Owl Outdoors. Good to see you here. By the way, I just released a YouTube video, y'all. It's called $1 Million Newsletter Sponsorship Strategies, featuring my friend Caitlin. She is the amazing founder and creator of the newsletter Why We Buy, which helps you understand buyer psychology. Really, really awesome business that she's run. And I get a lot of questions about this is like, do you just help influencers, like people who are on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or whatever? And the answer is absolutely not. Like I help all types of creators, regardless of where you've built up an audience, regardless of where you've built up a platform, whether it's a newsletter, podcast, whatever, I can help you. And so this video, I'm doing more of these types of videos where I'm working with creators, business owners, media operators, people who have built up these kind of really interesting businesses that are doing sponsorships. And so if you have kind of a non-traditional business like that and you don't really think of yourself as an influencer or even a creator, I would really recommend you go take a look at that video because it was a good one. So education. Okay, so that's the first thing. Raman Radzi says, yes, local businesses are gold. And Delilah says, I think a lot of people forget about the small local businesses. That's absolutely right. There's so much opportunity. There is so much opportunity. I can tell you firsthand that like a lot of local businesses have robust marketing budgets, thousands of dollars a month, oftentimes, and especially as you start getting, like chains in kind of maybe a county or multiple counties, some of these businesses, restaurants that have like multiple locations, they have like tens of thousands of dollars for monthly marketing initiatives. And so, yes, but of course you have to understand what they're spending that money towards, right? And so, yeah, it's a very, very important concept to understand about when really coming in and scoping it. That's what I say a lot is like you come in, you ask the questions, you scope what their current strategy is, and provide your best best justified plan moving forward. And that segs really nicely into my next point, which is another really another really incorrect way that a lot of creators educate brands is they tell them that what they're currently doing sucks. So you can imagine you come into a particular business or a brand and you say, hey, look, why are you running magazine ads? Why are you running ads on billboards and bus benches in your local community? Can you tell me how many sales or how many customers have you generated from those initiatives? And because, to us as people who are kind of like digitally knowledgeable, digital first creators, we're very familiar with social media and the internet ecosystem and the social platforms. For those of us who are familiar with that, it seems obvious, right? It's like, of course, like why would you waste, $11,000 on like a single magazine insertion in like the local industry or the niche industry trade publication? You have to understand how these organizations work, okay? In my experience, having done sales for the agency for many years, brands and companies run on inertia. They run on the status quo, essentially, of the way in which they've always done things, okay? So if for 30 years or for 15 years, this has just been the way that they've done marketing or the way that they've done advertising, then it's very, very difficult to convince them to not do that anymore. So if you are to come in and say like, hey, I know that this is what you've been doing for the longest time, but here's what I would recommend. I want you to take the ship and go like this. Something completely orthogonal to what you're currently doing. I want you to reallocate that $100,000 a year that you spend, and I want you to spend it over here instead. Just trust me. It's going to work out. Just trust me. And so what you have to understand is that the people inside these organizations who are making these budgetary decisions of how to allocate all this money, they are real people too. They're real people who want to get raises. They're real people who want to get promotions. And so what their a lot of times what their primary motivation is to not to rock the boat. They don't want to put their neck out there and risk everything that they've been doing. And in fact, the person you're talking to, that may have been their decision. They were the one who's been allocating those tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars towards these kind of more traditional tactics for many years. And so in essence, you're coming in and saying like, hey, you're an idiot. Why have you been doing that for so long? You're an idiot. Another fear is that if they try anything new, what if they get exposed? Where their executive team, they try this new thing with you and it goes awesome. And then their executive team says, oh my gosh, we were wasting all this money for years. It's your fault, director of marketing. It's your fault, marketing manager. How dare you've been wasting all this money for years. How dare you not really figure out about this new thing? You think that this is crazy, but this is some of the fears that these marketers that you're talking to might have. Right? So I implore you to realize, have empathy, understand that these are real people on the other side of it. And so you know what a better tactic is instead of coming in and saying, hey, brand, take the ship and go, boom, go here. Brand, you know what I want you to do? I am not saying you need to stop what you're currently doing. Don't do that. No, what you're doing is fine. What I am proposing is a supplement to your existing strategy. So let's take the ship. We're still going in basically the same direction, but let's make a slight course correction here. Let's add this on to what you're currently doing. It's, you'll have to forgive me for this analogy, but I'm an engineer by my background, okay? I went to engineering school for my college. And so what they drill into you, even in high school, if you took a lot of those classes, or even in college, it's the scientific method, right? Which is you have hypotheses and then you test the hypotheses. And a really important critical thing to learn about how you can, the parallel for advertising is that any advertiser or any marketer worth their salt knows that you can't just change up a bunch of variables at once. Because even if you see positive changes like in the right direction, you're not sure which change that you made actually was responsible for that outcome. So a much better strategy is to hold everything else constant and only change one variable or a very small amount of variables. And so that is very, very critical to understand because, you know, when you go in, you know, you come into an organization, you say, hey, look, okay, let's hold everything else constant, all these other things that you're currently doing. Let's just add on this like social media strategy that doesn't really seem that you've done before. Let's add this on and see what happens, right? Let's see if it, you know, you can get more leads generated for this webinar that you're trying to promote or more, or whatever the outcome is, whatever the objective that they have. And so it's so critical. Like you just don't come in and call them idiots. You have to understand, you have to have empathy that this is what happens when brands might have hesitancy. Okay. Samantha King just tuned in on TikTok. Let's see. We've got someone. I think someone was asking like if I save these replays somewhere. And oh yeah, Bianca's in there on the TikTok chat as well. She's Bianca's on my team. She said you can find all the live replays on my YouTube channel as well. Yes. Thank you for answering some of those questions, Bianca. Oh hey Boo, what's up? My Boo's here.
Hi, friends.
How's it going, baby?
Good. I'm just cleaning the house. Justin's parents are visiting tomorrow.
You know, I need one.
Minnesota.
I need one of these tissues because I just cry at how beautiful you are every day.
Yeah, we were having
You got to talk into this so they can hear you, baby.
You guys, we were having lunch and I look like this. Okay? He wanted to be like, you look beautiful. I started laughing, like literally laughing so loud. I was like, you can still get it. You don't need to tell me I'm beautiful because I know I look crazy. I've been cleaning all day.
It's not a lie. I'm not lying. It's true. I think
lie.
you beautiful no matter what.
no.
No. Love you, baby. Thanks for the cameo. Love you. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, so funny. I love when my wife comes in and does her cameos. Yeah, so we got the April cameo. We always got to have it. All right, so where was I? So yes, understanding. Yeah, like don't tell them to like move the ship completely. Let's just do a small course correction, okay? All right. The next thing I want to talk about education is like don't assume that the only person that you need to educate at the brand is your contact. You have to scope out who are the other internal stakeholders. I can't tell you how many times I made this mistake when I was pitching a brand, an advertiser at my agency. So what would happen is we would, you know, I think I've talked in past videos about this RFP process, right? Where brands send out their RFP stands for request for proposal. So they would send it out to a bunch of different agencies, right? And they say, hey, we want to run this campaign. We're planning this campaign for next year or for 2 quarters from now or something. We would like to invite you to the bidding process or the proposal process, basically. Put together your best, proposal for us, and then you're going to come and present it to us, and we'll pick the best one, essentially, right? And so first of all, I had no idea what I was doing. Let's be real here. I had no idea what I was doing when the first couple times I did this. When a brand first invited me to my agency to the RFP process, I literally had to Google what RFP meant. I was like, what is an RFP? This is how much of a noob I was at the very beginning when I first started it. Because remember, my wife and I, it was just us. Like we were just creators, and we were pretty proficient at this thing working with brands. And I was just like, oh, let me have a crazy business idea. Let me go get deals for other people. And so like it was born out of this kernel, but I had to educate myself, y'all. I didn't have a lot of this knowledge when I was just starting out about how different it is when you actually pitch an advertiser on this higher scale. And so what would happen is that there would be the person who would be the contact, who would be inviting us, who would be, I don't know, maybe the marketing manager or the director of marketing or whatever it was, right? And so I mistakenly thought, so a lot of times we would get on a phone call with them. They would give us, 30 minutes or an hour or whatever to like kind of ask more questions about what was included in the RFP and get clarification, et cetera, et cetera. And I would ask about their objectives. And so I would take what this person would say as gospel. I would say, okay, well, it sounds like this particular person, they're really trying to do this, and these are the goals of the organization, and this. And then what would happen is we would go into our cave. I had a team, so I would go and I would talk to some, my lead person who would help putting the proposals together and all that. And we would develop a strategy, and then we would flesh out the whole proposal of all the packages and everything we'd be willing to do in the budget and all that stuff. And then we would submit it, right? And then oftentimes what would happen is that we would get a chance to speak with the larger team at the brand to present the proposal. And what would ultimately happen, this happened many times until I started getting smarter about this. What would ultimately happen is that it would be instantly clear within 3 minutes of us starting to do our presentation who was really in charge. And it wasn't the contact. It would have been the VP of marketing or the CMO, which is the chief marketing officer, or someone else at the company and not the marketing manager. And they would bring up these crazy questions or requirements or requests of what they wanted us to do that were either not captured in the RFP that they sent us as a requirement, or it was something new that they just decided, ever since we sent you that RFP, we've decided that we actually want this thing to be part of the deal. And we're just right? And so we lost multiple deals because we actually didn't understand that there were other stakeholders, there were other decision makers at play that we needed to know about. And so this is one of the things I teach in the negotiation section of my Brand Deal Wizard program, is understanding that it's not what I call just a bilateral negotiation, where a bilateral means two people, right? It's just you and the other party. It's actually more like a trilateral negotiation, where you have to systematically uncover and understand who else internally do I need to be aware of, or who should I speak with, so that I can get their feedback of how this deal should come together, so that everyone's aligned. And you can ask very simple questions like this. So if you're talking with your contact and you're kind of scoping out what you're going to propose, you just say something as simple as is there anyone else on your internal team that would be good to align with at this point? So, something like that. It depends on where you're at in the negotiation, but just simply asking something like that. They may be oh yeah, we should really pull in the legal team, or oh yeah, we should really pull in this other person on supply chain. Here's a great example. So deals would crater at the last minute because all of a sudden they found out, or it wasn't even all of a sudden, they knew that they were going to be having supply chain issues with inventory, and that they weren't going to be able to keep the products that they wanted to promote on the shelf when the campaign was supposed to go live. And what would happen is that because they didn't involve the procurement or the supply chain team or the inventory management team, let's say it was an online kind of direct-to-consumer retailer, they would cancel the campaign at the last minute. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, but we just got word from our supply chain team that due to manufacturing issues or shipping and procurement issues, whatever it was, we're not going to our inventory levels are going to be way too low. And so the last thing we want is to spend a bunch of money to drive a bunch of people's audiences to come and land on our site, and it's out of stock. Wow, that would suck, right? And so you have to understand, these are the things that brands are thinking about internally. And so it's your job to ask them that kind of stuff. You would think, oh yeah, brands should know that type of stuff, but brands don't. A lot of times they don't. A lot of times they're oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. Thanks for reminding me of that. Emma says, watching this while crocheting a toy rabbit. Emma, you're going to have to DM me a picture of the rabbit now, because I'm really curious what the rabbit stands for. Raman Rati, what the rabbit looks like. Raman Rati says, wait, RFP stands for, oh yeah, Bianca dropped in the chat. Yes, request for proposal. Thank you for filling that in, Bianca. I think I missed some questions here. John in the chat says, watch this space. Justin is going to be the face and go-to person for any marketing and brand deal advice, whether you're a dream or a business. This man's a genius. John, what the heck, dude? That's so kind of you, man. Thank you very much. That really means a lot to me. It's kind of why I'm writing the book. I'm trying to be that guy, I saw this great short from Russell Brunson. I don't know if you know Russell Brunson. He's the funnel guy, and he was talking about how every great movement has started with a book. If you think back to a lot of these like famous, whether it's authors or thought leaders or whatever, like it was oftentimes the kind of like the book that put them on the map. And I think it's just like you almost never hear someone saying like, oh, did you see that YouTube video or read that article, this one article from, this person or whatever. It's almost like, have you read this book by this author? It's like the definitive guide to like this topic or something like that. And a lot of people have asked me like, why are you writing the book? Like you're such a internet first person, like YouTuber, like this type of thing. And so this is one of the reasons is that I feel as though the impact that I want to have extends beyond the internet. Case in point, like I've had a lot of people come to me who have non-internet businesses. I've had people who run conferences hire me for coaching. I've had people, who are authors hire me for like work with me for coaching. So it's like all these kind of like communities, courses, like a lot of these kind of non-traditional businesses that you don't think as like being sponsorable. That's been the biggest shock to me of like working with these types of people is realizing that the stuff that I teach is universal. It does not matter if you're a YouTuber or a conference organizer or whatever. The principles that I teach are universal. And so that's the reason that I want to write the book is because I feel like this book does not exist. And so, but I appreciate that very much, Sean. It means a lot. TC is me says, I agree with John. Justin, you're the bomb. Thank you, TC is me. I appreciate that very much. By the way, if you guys, do you guys follow me on social media, like on Instagram or TikTok or anything like that? I've been posting some fire comedy shorts recently over the last couple of days. I spent some time this weekend filming some like comedy stuff. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but like comedy is like my jam. Like that. I love being like non-serious and doing like funny skits and like pretending to be characters and wearing wigs and like, like all that like crazy stuff. Like this is like my personality. I'm like, if you ever meet me in real life, I'm very unserious. Like I might seem super serious on the internet, but like in real life, I am not. And so I'm trying to let that part of my personality show up more. So let me know if you saw any of those shorts that I've been putting out recently. I'm gonna try and get better about doing that more often because it's fun. I need to let that part of my personality shine. All right, let me take a swig while I look at some of these other questions here. All right. Angry Owl Outdoors says, hey, Justin, I did a paid review video of a jacket for a company. The company liked it. They asked for the footage. They want to use it for 30 days of ads in the US. They asked my fee. No idea how much to charge. Great question, Angry Owl. I actually have a YouTube video specifically about this topic on my YouTube channel. It's called How Much to Charge for Whitelisting or Licensing Influencer Content, I believe is the title. I have a very simple formula for this. You take the base fee that they paid you. So let's call it $1,000 just for easy math. And you, for every 30-day period, depending on, well, let's break it up. So let's do 2 examples, right? Okay, so if they want to just license your content, which means that you're going to give them the footage and they're going to run the ad on their handle, not your handle. They're going to run it on their handle. That is licensing, okay? And typically the rule of thumb is it should be 15% of the base deal size per 30-day period. So that would mean $150 incrementally every 30 days for them to run that asset as an ad on their platforms. So that's a licensing activation, okay? The whitelisting version of that is where you actually natively post the content on, let's say, your Instagram or your TikTok or something, and they ask you for either back-end access to your Meta or your Facebook to basically get ads access, or they ask for what's called a Spark Ads code in in TikTok, and that will give them the rights to actually boost the post that you make natively on your page. And so in that scenario, the advice that I give is that should be an incremental 25% of the base deal size per 30-day period. So in that scenario, it would be an incremental $250 for that month. And that should be a rolling thing. So you can start to see how the money gets pretty significant quickly. So yeah, at $1,000, it just seems like, oh, another $250. But like the larger the base deal size get, let's say it's 10,000 or 20,000 for 10,000, that's an incremental $2,500 a month, let's say, for whitelisting. And if the brand wants whitelisting for 6 months, you'll quickly see that the usage actually becomes more than the content creation portion itself. And so this is one of the things I talk about in my Brand Deal Wizard program, is that like, it's not just about quantity of deliverables for you to make 2, 3, 5, 10x on your deals. A lot of the time it comes down to these other deal points like usage and exclusivity and other things like that, that will actually blow this deal size way up. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. This is Jessica Rose, the OG, tuning in on Instagram. Jessica, what is going on? Those of you guys who don't know this, Jessica was one of my very first one-on-one coaching clients. Yeah, we got Jessica Rose. She tuned in on Instagram.
Jessica, I love you.
You've been listening in the other room?
No, I heard Justin yell Jessica Rose. I did
say it pretty loudly.
Wiping the kitchen down, and I heard Jessica Rose. I had to say, hey, Jessica.
Good to see you here. Yeah, she's one of the OGs, one of the first people that hired. There we go.
I'm so fangirling. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
I be messing with Justin's lives.
Yeah. Well, yeah, good to see you here, Jessica. Jessica Rose says, Justin had me making that shmoney. It wasn't just money, shmoney. So if you want to be making shmoney like Jessica Rose, she said, trust him, he's worth every dollar. So man, I'm just going to screenshot that. Like, can I just do that? Because that's pretty bomb. Thank you, Jessica. So what was I saying? Yeah. Let me know if that's helpful. Angry Owl Outdoors. Yeah. Okay. I did real quickly before we dive into the rest of Q&A, because I'm seeing a bunch of questions here. There's one more thing I want to talk about the, this kind of education piece, the wrong way to educate brands. And it's that you have to realize that even if your education doesn't work out, all the work that you put in, all the Google, all the Zoom, meetings that you get on and all the emails explaining stuff, even if it doesn't work out with this particular brand, you cannot let that burn you out to the process of educating brands. Because let me explain what happens is that people move jobs all the time, and they will remember you as the person that took the time to explain this concept to them. They'll remember you as the person who is probably the expert in your niche about this type of thing, and they will hire you at that next job, whether it's a person from a brand who moves to another brand, or a person at an agency who moves to another agency. I can't tell you how many times this has happened to us, where we'll do the dog and pony show. Maybe it'll be multiple calls with the brand, and then it runs into a brick wall. It doesn't go anywhere. We don't get the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 deal that we were proposing or pitching to them because it just wasn't the right timing, or it didn't work out for whatever reason. But that person who we educated moves job and reaches back out and says, hey, I don't know if you remember me. We, worked together a year ago or 2 years ago, sometimes 5 years ago. Like, it's crazy. People will remember you and be like, hey, I'm working on this new brand now that's like a perfect fit for what you guys do. Can we have another call? So this, I wanted to end on this point for this part of the live, because you've probably realized, like, a lot of the stuff that I talk about, it's about how do you have this longer term perspective about your creator career, about working with brands and collaborating with them, and not being myopic about just this particular deal, just this particular brand deal where you're going to get paid $2K or $3K or whatever. No, it's about increasing what I call the lifetime value of the relationship with your brand, which is, it's not just about this 2K deal. How can you turn that 2K into 15K over 2 years, or 50K or something like that? It's so much easier to convince a brand that you've already worked with to hire you again than it is to convince a brand that you've never worked with. And so just you have to understand that this is a long game. Even if you don't get the deal across the finish line, you probably will also learn something too, right? Because that process that I mentioned of doing all these pitches when I ran the agency, I learned a lot, even through the failures. I was like, okay, well, my proposal is going to be a lot better next time. And it actually made me win more deals, probably more than I would have won otherwise, because I had those failings. Especially, honestly, if there's anything that I told you about today, the best thing that I ever did was learning about the key decision makers, learning about who the gatekeepers are. Because it doesn't matter how much work you do. It doesn't matter how much time you spend on a proposal. It does not matter if there's a person who's above your contact who has a fundamentally different opinion about how this campaign should go than the person you're talking to. They'll just say, no, sorry, we're not going to do it. And so all that work is for naught, right? And so this if there's anything that I could tell you, it's this: how do you scope? How do you understand who are the decision makers that I need to understand so that I can get everyone at the table here and hear and learn everyone else's perspectives so that I can craft a proposal that accommodates everyone. Okay. Is this helpful? We've got Turkson Studios tuning in on IG, Corey Gums. We've got Rachel Silva on TikTok, Jojo on TikTok, Eddie Ball tuning in, Chief Topher Chris, Glamournized on Instagram. Good to see you here. Oh, we got Crazy Maze Stash says, hi, I'm new here. Good to see you here. Good to see you here. All right. All right, so what are our questions about brand deals, negotiations? I'm going to scroll back up here because I think I missed some. Bianca says, oh, 2 great questions above that I missed. Okay. Nakota Fishing says, I love to hear when you discuss sponsorship with the brands. For some reason, it makes me understand it easier. A great example is 7 sponsorship conversion tactics so brands hire you again. Okay, awesome. I get it. Yeah. I love talking about that stuff too because I don't think anyone else does. It's like, how do you make the ad perform better? Right? Like when it's one thing to like get the deal across the finish line, but how do you assure that when you actually go public with that partnership, that your audience actually converts, right? They take the action, they sign up for something, they sign up for a trial, they purchase the product, et cetera, et cetera. And those are all things that you need to be learning to get better at as a creator. And if you're not, that's a problem, because what do you think is going to happen if you have better conversions? They're going to hire you again. Right. So it seems pretty obvious to me, but I don't know if it is. Jason Vaughn from Fat Tested Travel says, hey, Justin, love the first 4 chapters of the book. This is Jason Vaughn. Can't wait to read the rest. Jason, it's so weird that you're here. Because I was meaning to reach out to you because you, more than almost anyone who's given beta feedback on the book, I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate the in-depth nature, the thoughtfulness of your feedback. So useful, man. Honestly, I was actually just working. I had my writing block this morning, and I'm excited to because I rewrote the entire first section of the book. I have this awesome story at the one of the most like the biggest pieces of feedback I got from the initial round of beta readers was like it's too prescriptive, especially at the beginning. Like, I need a story, Justin. Give me a story at the very beginning that establishes your credibility. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read the story that I have now. Can I read the story for you guys? I'm going to read the story that I just wrote. Is that cool? Can I do that? It's not very long, but I want to get your like real-time reaction here. Okay, here we go. Hold on. I got to find it. Okay. Are you guys ready for this? Are you excited? Okay. Here is the new beginning of my book. I've got my phone pressed tightly against my ear, trying to hear what the advertising agency executive is saying over the roar of the airplane engines. We have a big problem, she says. The contract has an error, and the brand isn't sure if we can proceed with the shoot tomorrow. My heart drops. Are you serious? We're pulling away from the gate right now and turning onto the runway. I look over at my wife, April, who's trying to soothe our 2-year-old son. She mouths, what are they saying? I shake my head in disbelief. I look over at my 5-year-old, who was thankfully distracted with a show on his tablet. For a moment, I think about pulling up the sponsorship contract on my phone and trying to figure out which clause had the issue. I glance up and see a flight attendant staring daggers at me. Sir, you need to silence your electronic device before takeoff. Think, Justin, think. There was no time. It was impossible. There was only one clause I could see clearly in my mind. Compensation, $25,000. Were we really about to lose it all? See, I've been in high-stakes situations with brands many times before. In fact, I'm the guy that hundreds of top creators call when they need help with complex sponsorship negotiations. And even though my wife and I have done 550 sponsorships since 2009, earning over $4.5 million, a brand pulling out at the very last minute had never happened before. There we go. Cliffhanger. That's it. That's the end of the first. That's the end of the first story, or the story of the first section. So I didn't have a story at the beginning. All right. What do we think here? How are we like, let's go. Like, is it a cliffhanger? Do you want to know what happened there? Do you want to know what the problem is with the contract? Like, how are we feeling? This is the reason to do beta feedback. I have found. Right? Justin, that was bars. So, yeah, okay. I remember that story. Yeah, John says this is going to be a killer audiobook. Yes. Bianca says, why is this good? Because, well, it's because it's a real story. This actually happened to me. Jason said, this is such a better opening. All right, guys. All right. Jenny says, yes, want to hear more. Great job. All right. Chef GG says, intriguing. All right. Yes. 007 Snoopy and TikTok says, yes, we need a suspense story. All right. Fair. Okay. Yes. This is what I'm hearing. Yes. Hale's Kitchen says, oh man, that's suspense. Yeah. You want to know what happens more? We're probably gonna have to read the book to hear what happens on that story, right? So a couple things that accomplished. So previously what I was doing in the book was I was like listing my pedigree. I was like, my wife is, here's the reason why you should trust me about sponsorships. My wife and I have done, blah, 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 made this much money. I helped hundreds of other creators earn millions more, blah, 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 blah. And it felt like really dry. Like, it's like someone commented like the person who says they're the best at anything is never the best at that thing. Right. So it's like show, don't tell. Right. And so that was the point of like, you can accomplish all that through a story, right? And I feel like that's hopefully what that does. So anyways, glad to hear that this is resonating with you guys. So we got Adam St. Clair, Sly Stallone here. All right, Sly Stallone here. Good to see you here. All right. So there's other question above that I think I missed. Oh, okay, we got a question from Tommy Gioco. From Twitter or from X. Good to see you here. How might you think about asking for affiliate link programs in addition to paid partnerships? Great question, Tommy. So the way in which I think about compensation, regardless of like what type of deal you're doing, there's basically three types of compensation models when you partner with brands. The first is affiliate only, right? Where the only way that the brand has to compensate you is if you drive sales or drive conversions, right? So someone actually, you tell someone else, hey, go sign up for, a trial of this software. And if you become a paying customer, I'm going to get a small, commission off of that. That is the ideal scenario for pretty much every brand or company, because they get to have this little army of people out there talking about them, and they have to outlay no capital at all. They don't have to pay you for that, right? And so, affiliate, that's the affiliate model, right? Then on the far other end of the spectrum is the flat compensation model, where now basically most of the risk gets shifted to the brand, right? And by the way, the initial scenario, all the risk was basically on you, because you have to do all the work. The brand has to outlay nothing. You do all the work. You have to put your reputation, your credibility on the line and tell someone to like go sign up for this. If they do, you get rewarded. But remember, you're not capturing any of the value of that recommendation, right? So you're giving that, you're passing along that goodwill to the brand for free, basically, right? And so on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the flat compensation, right? And so now all the risk, essentially, a lot of the risk is shifted towards the brand, especially if you have a sizable audience, like rightfully so, because again, you have to capture the value of the relationship that you've built, your trust, your integrity that you've built with your audience over time. The brand does not get to access this super engaged, intimate audience that you have for free. No, they have to pay you for that privilege, okay? And so I know a $20 bag of potato chips doesn't cut it, right? And so a lot of times people think like these are the two extremes, but there's actually this model in the beginning, which is the hybrid compensation model. And this is where there is some sort of baseline compensation component, some flat compensation component, as well as a kicker on the back. I call it a kicker on the back end, which is an affiliate component. So in addition to, let's say, paying you $2,000 to create the content, right? Because that's non-trivial. Yeah, it takes work to create the content. $2,000 for that, plus let's say 20% recurring commission of anyone that signs up. And so this type of setup can be very beneficial for certain types of relationships, especially if you have a high level of confidence that whatever it is that you're going to be promoting, that your audience is going to be really into it. I strike deals like this fairly often, right? Because, I have a pretty niche audience, y'all, right? Which are business-minded creators, right? And so you guys are investing in your business, right? And this is the by the way, the story that I tell to my prospective sponsors, my audience is different than other people's, right? And so these hybrid deals are very aligned sometimes, right? And so, and by the way, not only are they aligned, but you now have multiple pricing levers during the negotiation. So if the brand has some sort of budget constraint or some sort of CPA constraint, which is cost per acquisition constraint, then they may not be willing to pay you 10K or 20K or whatever it is for this deal. But you know what? Maybe if you come back to them and say, hey, okay, let's do a hybrid thing here. I'm invested in the outcome. I do believe we're going to see some, good conversions and performance and stuff on this. Instead, I would be willing to do $7,500 flat upfront commission, but 30% recurring commission on anyone that ultimately signs up. And I'm banking that will make up, let's say in a 30 or 60 day period, the $2,500 or maybe even more, because you probably want to have that uncapped because for the privilege of letting the brand kind of do this hybrid compensation structure, then there needs to be probably an upside for you. So maybe it means you make even more than 10K because you do the 7,500 and then you, let's say, generate $5,000 or $7,500 in incremental affiliate revenue on the back end of that, right? So you ultimately end up making 15K or something like that, right? And so that can absolutely be negotiated, but the clarification that I would probably give you, Tommy, is that this should be negotiated at the outset of the deal. What you don't want to have happen is like you've already inked the deal, and then this will sometimes happen where the creator will be, creates the content, and then at the last moment, right when the brand provides feedback about, to approve the content for it to go live, the brand says, hey, here, can you use this tracking link, which will drive to some other website, or maybe driving to Amazon or an e-commerce partner or something. And the creator says, no, I want to use my affiliate link. And the brand's like, that's what the money is for. The money that we're paying you up front. Why are you, it almost makes it seem like you're greedy, right? And so, the reason I bring this up is just like, you can absolutely do this. You can absolutely negotiate this, Tommy, but you have to do it at the beginning because you just don't want to leave this sour taste in the mouth where you're trying to like take pennies off the table almost, where it's like, it just leaves a bad taste in their mouth. Right. So yeah, absolutely. You can negotiate that, but it's critical about the juncture at which you do that. So yeah, hopefully that helps. All right. Wild Willow says, I just found your channel today. Holy moly. And it's very helpful. I just put out my first video 2 weeks ago and I'm already getting sponsorship offers. It is pretty overwhelming, but your videos help. Holy cow. Come on, guys. Let's get a round of applause for Willow in the chat. Like, holy cow. Can I just real quickly comment on something? Which is that Willow found my channel today. I've been doing this for years. How powerful is it to have a presence on the internet, a platform where some of your content is evergreen, where people can find it, kind of a back catalog where you can serve them capably in a way that extends beyond a lot of the other platforms that are kind of ethereal. Right? You post it and then it kind of disappears, So anyways, just a thought here, but glad to hear that the content is helpful and welcome to the family, Willow. All right, let's see here. Okay. There's a question up here that I missed. Emma says, any man who must say, I am the king is no true king. Game of Thrones. Yes, exactly, Emma. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not gonna do that. Let's see here. John says, I'm concerned why the jet engines were roaring through the soundproofing of the plane. I'll probably get off. Yeah, I got you. I got to build some drama here. I've got to build some drama. All right. There was a question up here further up. I said your last name right. Oh, Tom switched over to TikTok. So he said, man, I said your last name correctly. Holy cow. I feel proud of that. Glad to hear it. All right. Okay. Where is the question? I keep missing it. It was the one above Tommy. Oh, yes. Oh, Angry Owl Outdoors. I missed this. There was an extension of their question around licensing and whitelisting and all that stuff. And they said, might ask if they want to do a further timeline. Absolutely. So, this is another principle that I teach in my Brand Deal Wizard program is just because the brand asks you for one thing doesn't mean that you can't propose other things. So if they said, hey, we want to, run paid advertising with this for 30 days, you shouldn't just spit back one number at them and be like, okay, it's going to be this much money. No, you come back to them and say, okay, great. Here's 5 packages of other things that I can do for you. And you know what is something else that you should be doing, Angry Owl Outdoors, at the same time as that, is pitching to create more content for them that are specifically utilized for paid ads that you don't even post on your platform. Because clearly they see the value in what you're doing. So you come to them and say, oh, great to know that running ads with my content is useful for you. In that case, I can actually make 5 additional assets for you. I can vary up the hook. I can vary the key messages, the order of those. I can vary the call to action at the end. It's going to be 5x what I charge you for that initial video. What do you think? In addition, and as part of this deal, I'll also grant you licensing for that original asset. I can't tell you how much money we've made over the years doing stuff like that. In fact, I actually recently I negotiated this for a deal that I did with Circle. Circle is the community platform that I use for my course, and I did a partnership with them recently. And one of the deliverables was UGC. So I said, every month I'm going to deliver 4 assets to you. I am going to post them natively, but in addition to that, I'm going to send you alternate versions of each of these assets that are more suitable for ads. So for the versions that I posted natively on my platform, the ending call to action was like, let me know in the comments what's your biggest, block for launching a community this year or something, right? And then the ad version of that asset was exactly the same. 95% of the footage of that short was the same, except I filmed, at the time of filming the short, I filmed alternate endings. And so the ad versions with the alternate endings says, and if you want to start, your community today, click below and sign up for a 7-day free trial for Circle. So that's not really something that I would say organically natively on my platform, because that's not going to perform very well, but that's exactly the type of thing that you'd want to say in an ad, right? And so that flexibility, again, like Circle had never done anything like this before, but it took me coming to them and being like, here's how I think we should do it, because we're going to get the best of both worlds. We're going to get organic distribution and exposure to my platform and my audience, and this is the way it's going to best resonate. And then you can also extend the mileage, I say. You extend the mileage of these assets in the following way. So how does this feel? Is this resonating? Is this massaging your brain? You like these strategies? All right. Love to hear it. He said, so good. Excited now to hit them up and work the long-term game. Yes, seriously. Thank you, Justin. Well, please, you're welcome. Let me know if it works. Email me, send me a DM. Keep me posted on how that happens, because I always love hearing about y'all's wins. Haley's Kitchen. Haley, am I saying your name properly? I hope I am. Haley's Kitchen says, how does pricing differ with the brand's goal for a campaign? Do we charge higher if the goal is brand awareness versus conversion versus using them for their own social media versus ads? Haley, that's exactly what I teach. So there's this metric, there's this framework that I call the ARC framework, right? ARC. So 100% of the time, the brand's goals are going to be awareness, repurposing, or conversions. And when it comes to the brand's pricing sensitivity for each of those different goals, it's going to change. And so if you think about it from an awareness perspective, the metrics that the brand cares about in those scenarios are what I call the squishiest, right? Maybe it's a new product launch. Maybe there's new features that they want to spread the word about. Maybe they're launching in a new territory and they haven't, they were in the UK, now they're in the US. That is an awareness type campaign. For a repurposing campaign, the goals are probably number of assets, right? The example I just gave with Circle, number of assets was a primary deliverable for that, right? It was the assets I was going to post, but also the ones that they could use for paid advertising. And then in a conversion goal type, yeah, they're going to care about sales and conversions and something attributable, measurable, trackable, that type of thing, right? And so if you think about how your pricing should change, let's think about it from the awareness perspective. Actually, let's start with conversions because it's the easiest to understand. So I mentioned earlier how brands have a CPA or a cost per acquisition metric usually that they're beholden to on a conversion campaign. So if they say, hey, Justin, they're assuming in their mind, if we hire Justin, we're hoping that he gets 1,000 views on his YouTube video. And if he talks about us in that video, we're hoping that 10% of those people click the link, right? So 100 of those people, right? Of the 100 people that click the link, we're hoping that 25% of them sign up for a free trial. So that's 25 people. Of the 25 people that sign up for a free trial, we're hoping that 20% of them sign up for a the paid version of the software. That's 5 people. And if our software costs, let's say, $1,000 for the year or something, and on average, people stick around for about a year and then they churn out, they cancel it, right? That's $5,000. So 5 people, 5 paying members times $1,000 for the, the lifetime value of that customer, that's $5,000. That's the max we're going to pay Justin. But actually, that's not the max, because that would be the break-even point for the sponsor in that conversion campaign. In reality, why are they doing influencer marketing in the first place? They want to turn a profit. So they're going to want to pay you half, a third, a fourth, a fifth, maybe less of whatever that ROI of that risk mitigation or that risk strategy is, that ROI strategy is for that campaign. And so maybe they're going to want to pay me $1,000 or $1,200 or whatever. I don't know. That is a conversion campaign. And so your ability to price very aggressively, the brand's price sensitivity is sky high because they have these metrics that they can't wiggle from. They're just going to move on to the next creator who's going to charge less. And so to answer your question more pointedly, Haley, then yeah, it's much more difficult. Here's a better way to describe it. You should be more willing to accept a deal for a lower value on a conversion focused campaign, as long as you're comfortable with that, given that that's what the brand's objective is. And just understand that, like, as long as you're comfortable doing it, that's the reason that the brand is being so difficult negotiating with you in that scenario. However, in an awareness campaign, the brand does not have those metrics that they're beholden to. They're thinking, did we spread the word? Are people excited about the new product launch? How many views or how many impressions do we get? How many comment engagement? Like, does it seem like people are excited about that? That's the metrics that they're looking at usually with an awareness campaign. I'm simplifying it here, but that's really what they care about. And so your ability to negotiate a $5,000 swing between the two different packages in an awareness goal is so much higher. The brand's price sensitivity is so much lower when they negotiate with you because the objective is different. And as we just discussed in the repurposing scenario, the amount that you can charge usually is completely detached, oftentimes, from your viewership or subscribership or following on your social platforms, because you're pitching them these other unique kind of value propositions, right? And so what I say in that scenario is the price sensitivity is kind of in the middle there, because on the one hand they know that they need to pay someone to get content to repurpose, right, to put on their website, to run paid advertising, whatever. But at the same time, they still are probably beholden to some cost constraints or budget constraints that they can't wiggle from. So let me know if that's helpful. Yes, my name is Haley with my page name, Haley's Kitchen. Okay, awesome. Well, hopefully that's helpful. And that's kind of how I think about it. And in fact, by the way, this is why I believe that pretty much every other sponsorship pricing calculator out there sucks. Because what I found is that the vast majority of them only use your reach on social media as in a vacuum. It's okay, let's figure out how many followers or views you get or engagement rate or whatever. And here's roughly what you should charge for a post or whatever, this type of thing. It's trash. It's totally trash. You have 50% of it literally is the brand's objectives. And so when I created my calculator for my program, this is what I did is I have weights assigned to the different objectives, is you're probably going to be able to charge something more like 3x for a brand awareness campaign, roughly, than you do for a conversion campaign, in my experience. And I've done this across hundreds, thousands of sponsorships that I've negotiated for myself personally, as well as through the agency. So anyways, yeah, hopefully that's helpful, helpful, Haley. Yes, you're welcome. Great question. We got AJ tuning in on TikTok. Holy cow, guys, we're already almost at the end of the live. How did this happen? Okay, so what do we think of the new live stream time? We've got Crystal Profit tuning in. Good to see you here, Crystal, on Instagram. What do we think of the new live stream time? I feel like it was pretty sweet. I feel like I'm seeing a lot of similar faces. I was really concerned I was going to be talking to crickets today, because I haven't done a live on a Tuesday ever, I don't think, especially at this time. So I feel like maybe this is around lunchtime for Pacific PST people, and like I guess maybe like late afternoon for Eastern Standard Time people. I don't know. How do we feel? How do we feel about the time? This time is gold. So much better, says Angry Owl Outdoors. Love to hear it. All right. Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, Bianca. Exactly. Anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in each and every week. It really means a lot to me. And if I could ever ask anything from you, if there's ever anything I could ask from you, if you ever get a win, if anything positive ever happens to you, whether it's a brand responded to your email, or you got a deal across the finish line, or you got your very first, like paid brand deal, or your very first 4-figure deal or 5-figure deal or whatever, please send me a message, whether it's messaging me on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, or emailing me or whatever. Like, I live for this stuff. I hope it's obvious. I live for this. You know why? Because I feel like somehow I think people think they're not allowed to be excited about this stuff or flex about this stuff because it's kind of a very niche thing. It's hard to like kind of describe to friends and family, like, oh God, this brand's paying me like thousands of dollars to like post once about them, right? When sometimes like that may be the entire salary for a month of like your friend or your family member or something. So it's like weird sometimes to like celebrate your wins when it comes to this type of thing. So if that ever happens, please message me. I will be the first person in line to congratulate you and cheer you on. It just makes my it makes my day, makes my week, makes my month. So anyways, thank you guys so much. Great to see you here. I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.